And yay, I think it's working. Woohoo! Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in again today. Super happy you're here. Super happy for me to be here. It's getting a little chilly here in Nashville, Tennessee. But I'll tell you what, I love winter. Actually, I love watching winter on television. That's how I love winter. Something always nice. Snow. I love snow. Watching snow on television. Pictures of snow is awesome. Now, it's not snowing here yet. And boy, I sure hope this year we can skip all that. I don't know if you know anything about Nashville's weather. We're not going to get into a lot of it, but it doesn't really snow here. It gets a little icy for a week or two in the winter, kind of around February. The whole town shuts down, and it's very peculiar. I've been here for, 5 years now, and every winter it's the same story. Curious. Anyways, moving right along. Thanks for coming out today. Woo, we got some stuff for you today. So season 2, episode 2, season 2, episode 2. Looking good, feeling good. You, me, us. For what? So we can fulfill the human potential. All today. That's what we're doing. Bringing our A game. That's right. We are getting our foundation built, wrapping our heads around through series 1, that we are, in fact, it is the divine blueprint for us to be like God, like our Father in heaven, like Jesus of Nazareth. This is going for it stuff. It's a little tricky talking about this stuff, I'll be frank. I try and communicate to as many people as possible on the subject matter, but it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, especially if the whole question of does God even exist? So barring we get past that point, and we're going to address that subject in the future, believe me, we will. I'm going to definitely bring the receipts on that subject, but not today. It's our design, it's the divine blueprint for us to be like God. That's why he made us. Which through that lens or that focus, it changes everything. The way that we live life, the way that we do things, the things that we say, the things that we do, the things we don't say, the things that we don't do. Everything kind of changes, especially if we understand how our Father in heaven is and that we are wired and designed to be the same way. Now, I don't know if you've ever rented a truck from Budget or wherever you rent your trucks from, but often there's a limiter on the speed limit. And it only lets you go so fast. You can press the pedal all you want, but you will max out at that limited miles per hour that they wire the truck so that you don't speed with big, heavy loads when you're moving. Well, we have a similar situation built into us where, yes, we're designed. We are made in the image and likeness of God. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. Revert back to series 1, episode 1. Look, and let me say that for the record. This is series 2, episode 2. If you haven't seen the first series yet, please go back, because this stuff's going to be so hard to, really wrap your head around until you've, at least to some degree, built the foundation that we're building on right now. So that first series of 7 episodes is, there's a link in the description below, and you can go and do that. If you've seen the first series and you're now moved on to the second series and you haven't seen the first episode yet, go back and start there, because that's the introduction to where we're headed with this particular series. And now we've moved into the how to be like God category. Wish I was a better case study for you. Working on it, though. I've been kind of working on it for a while, and I'm happy to say I've had some incredible things happen that I'm going to be sharing in the near future for you in future episodes, but not today. There are benefits to, rewiring the way that we look at who we are and why we're here and all that cool stuff. Once we wrap our heads around the idea that we're made to be like the creator of the universe, that changes everything, especially when it comes to our mindset. And we're going to get into that in the future too, but Jesus often would say, hey, it's your faith, it's what you think, it's the way that you believe is your problem. It's why you can't be like me, it's why you're not being like me, or why you're being like me for a little while and then not. If you think about Peter walking on water with Jesus, that's exactly a case study for that. I'm not going to get into that, but we will in the future. For today, I'm going to build on what we did in the last episode, Series 2, Episode 1. And there we looked at this idea that we can communicate in dialogue with the creator of the universe. As we looked at, and we'll be looking at again more in the future, Jesus came to teach us many things and give us an example on how to live. But one of his major mandates was to bring us up to speed on this idea that the creator of the universe is actually our Father. And this is an interesting side note, and I'm going to share it with you right now. When Jesus says, your Father in heaven, like he's teaching his guys how to pray, they said, Lord, teach us to pray. And so he taught them what's called the Lord's Prayer, or the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Well, when he says Father, that word in Hebrew is the word Abba. In Aramaic, I think it's the same in Aramaic too, the side note. Anyway, that word Abba for Father's not the best. And for you theologians out there, you're going to know this. But if you're new to this subject matter, the word Abba means daddy better in English. Father's a bit kind of a serious term. Father, I'm your father, which is different than I'm your daddy, right? So it's a term of endearment, as we as little kids would call our, often we'd call our dad daddy in English. In other languages, I'm sure there's terms of endearment for children to address their parents. But at this point, it's critical that we understand that our Father in heaven is actually our daddy in heaven. That's an intimate, Jesus said, unless you become his children, you won't get into the kingdom of heaven. You won't experience it. And that's really the huge thing in there is humility, which we'll be getting to in the future also, critical nature of it. So this idea that we can communicate or dialogue with our daddy in heaven, that is what we're doing in the second series. And the verse that we looked at in the introduction, which was the last one, was in Jeremiah chapter 29. Now, we looked at verse 11 through 14a. Go back and check that out if you haven't yet. But it's God's promise. He says through the prophet Jeremiah, it's his promise that this is verse 13, if you seek me, look for me with your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength, I will reveal myself to you. That is an incredible promise from the creator of the universe, who just happens to be our daddy. Right? He says, hey, look, if you seek me with your whole heart, I will reveal myself. Now, him being God and the creator of the universe and the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and can't lie. There's verses in the Bible. I don't have the address at the moment, but I can bring you the receipts on that later in the future. He doesn't lie. He can't lie. He doesn't want to lie. He's incapable of lying, right? So when he says something, that is to the bank, folks. You take that check and you go cash that thing. And what we're talking about is worth more than life itself here on earth. If he says that if we seek him with our best effort that we can bring forward, I'm going to reveal myself to you. Well, the value of that is incalculable. Right? I'll tell you, when I got onto this when I was in my late teens, I was just like, this is the most important thing ever, right? Ever. Truly, 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 I say to you. Means when Jesus says truly, 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 he's not messing around. It's like so super amazingly amount. Truly, I say to you. So the most valuable thing that we could have possibly is to develop a relationship with the creator of the universe who made us. If I had a messed up computer, I would take it to the guy who made the computer, Bill Gates. Hey, well, that's okay, maybe not the best example. But hey, look, that's what you do. Your car breaks down, you take it to the Ford dealership or whatever dealership, and who made it, and so they could fix it. Well, look, we're talking about the creator of the universe, and he created us, and we're his kids. And God has, by his own word, a liability to take care of us as the Father. This gets into a whole other subject matter, which we'll be addressing in the future. But he actually, literally, 100% has liability as a father with us as his children. So that's just a secondary matter to support this idea that, hey, if we seek our daddy with all our heart, like mean it, not just kicking around, just like, hey, whatever. Well, if you have a lousy attitude, that's a great, and we're going to get into this too, a great way to have God not want to talk to us is having a lousy attitude, really. We're going to get into that in a future episode. It's important enough we're going to do a whole episode on it. I'm just wanting to fluff the pillows on this thing, right? If he says you can seek me with your whole heart, I'll reveal myself, well, then he's going to. Now, I'm just crazy enough to take him for his word. And I tell you the truth, when you go all in on this thing, he will reveal himself. It's in modern terms, go all in. Doesn't mean you have to quit your whole life, go sit on a mountain in the middle of nowhere and wait for him to talk. No, that's not what we're saying. Although, if he tells you to do that, go do that. But that's not what he means. He means make it the most important thing in your life, right? Make it more important than, this is where prayer and fasting comes in. If we make it more, food's pretty darn important in life. Go without food for a while. You'll figure out how fast. I know people that haven't missed a meal in their whole life, barely know what it means to be hungry. Well, go a few days, several days, many days, week, 2 weeks. And you really see how important food is. Well, he wants to be more important than every single thing that we could possibly have an attraction to. In fact, that's really the whole mysticism side of this theological stuff that we're doing is all about rearranging the way we see life and experiencing life and getting all the things that we just love and want to white knuckle and just skip them down the list and have slide the God up to the top. That's really it in a nutshell. Once we can do that and have it real, then our life is completely transformed, really, at that point. And a part of that is having our vices turned into virtues and worked on. Good luck trying to do that overnight. That's a long haul, that stuff. Our deep-rooted vices, secondary matter, but still critically important on this subject matter. God wants to help us through all that, but he wants us to seek him with our whole heart. Make it the most important thing. Make it the most important thing. Make it the most important thing. Even if you're kind of like, God, I don't know that you're there or not, please reveal yourself. Well, you are well on the way to having an encounter with heaven. Just saying. Now, I'm not saying people that don't do that won't have an encounter with heaven. God's sovereign. He gets to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it, however he wants to do it. I don't put any parameters on my daddy. I'm just like, Lord, this is God. I really want to talk to you. Really, really more important than anything else. At least I'm trying to make it the most important thing. Working on that, doing my best. You can see my attitude. And we're going to look at verses in the future of when he sees us with this great attitude and really willing to go the extra mile, which we'll get into what that means. He wants to honor that. He wants to reward that. And of course, he's going to open the door. Knock, and the door will be open. Jesus said it himself. Seek, and you will find. Ask, and you shall receive. These are promises from the kingdom of heaven to every single one of us. Guaranteed. Now, he gets to decide the wheres and the whens and the hows and the whos and the whats. We just got to be like kids. Like whenever, Daddy, I'm hungry, I'd like to eat. And not have a bad attitude when Dad says, look, we're almost to where we're going, having a drive in the car. I can't feed you. I'm not going to feed you right now. But if you can wait a while, when it's the right time, yeah, I'll feed you. Don't worry about it. You're not going to starve. We're going to get there, right? So as a good kid, you're like, okay, Dad. And you go back to doing whatever you're doing in the back seat when you were a kid, right? Teasing your brothers and sisters and all that fun stuff. Counting Volkswagen bugs. Was it blue ones? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Anyways, we seek God with our whole heart. This was episode 1, the introduction. And we need to hammer this stuff home. It's guaranteed. Taking it to the bank. When? Well, I'm not in charge of when. How? I'm not in charge of that either. God, however you want to do it. Now, part of the reason why I've had successes in that category is I've done my due diligence trying to figure out, well, how does God talk to other people? Right? There's tons of examples in the Bible, and this is why I started working on this before the internet. Tons of examples in the Bible. I'm like, yeah, okay, dreams and visions and, coincidences and all kinds of stuff. Speaking through other godly men, advanced character people, who dialogue with God on a regular basis. Not everyone who says that they dialogue with God does. That's another subject matter also. But, on a personal level, I want to hear however God wants to talk to me. If he wants to talk through a donkey, he's done that before. Won't get into that right now, but it's been done. And he did it. No question. I'm going to have to find the address on that one. Geez, that would have been a good one for today. Okay, so seek God with all your whole heart, mind, soul, strength. Make it the most important thing. Putting God first in your life doesn't mean you got to quit everything, like all the other important things to do in life. Just make him the most important. If you've got time, what do you do with your time? That's part of how he looks at us. What are you doing with your quote-unquote spare time? We got tasks and jobs that we do and that kind of thing. Well, it's pretty tough, through all of that to have a lot of focus on, hey, God, you're the most important thing. And he gets that, he fully gets it. I mean, he came to earth and was human, for 33 years. He gets it. He can feel it. He knows that we've got struggles, especially for us in our fallen nature and in development, as you might say. So he gets all that. He's got grace for all that. But if what are you doing with the rest of your time? And I'm not saying anything. Look, people need to do what they're going to do. I think the most important thing we can do is just be authentic. Look, if you don't care, you don't care. Or if you kind of care, well, that's not great. It's not going to be the things that makes them happy. But if you have the attitude of, look, hey, I got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. I can try and figure this stuff out. How can I better prepare myself? And how can I, let my daddy know, hey, this is important. We're going to look at this stuff in the very near future on examples of what God says to do relative to exactly that. So anyways, today, what's critical now, I'm building on top of that, seek me with your whole heart and I'll reveal myself, is getting this idea that, there's seems to be a natural rejection to this whole idea that I can actually really communicate with God. We talked in the first episode, the children of Israel, look, that's all, with Moses, at Mount Sinai, and there was thunder and lightning and mountain shaking and the whole thing, and they're just like, whoa, Moses, you get to just let us know what he's up to, what he needs, what he wants. We don't want to talk to him, though, right? There just seems to be this inherent nature, based on our fallen nature, that, we don't really want to get that close. I don't get it. For me, I can't think of anything more important than having a direct line to the throne of the universe, of all things created and uncreated and all of that. I mean, whatever. I got a direct line to the throne, guys, and so do you. This is the value of what we're talking about. So, but we've got this aversion to it. And so what I want to address this from a sacred scripture, biblical perspective on the idea that God does not show partiality. He doesn't show prejudice. He doesn't say, hey, this guy's smarter than that guy, so I'm going to spend more time with him instead of him. No, he loves us equally. He created every single one of us. We're all his kids. And he loves us equally. He might have special jobs and unique things for different people that he's created them to be a certain way, unique to each individual, but he doesn't show partiality. He doesn't show more love to one than another. He doesn't say, oh, that guy's got, like I said, smarter or less smart. I don't know what other things to give an example of. That guy's richer and that guy's poorer. That guy's a sinner, but boy, that guy's a sinner over there. I don't know. I'm not going to talk to that guy. No, he wants to talk to everybody because he doesn't want us to be so broken and corrupted, right? He wants to fix all that. He doesn't show prejudice, so we're going to get to some verses to help you understand this is factual. This is the truth of the matter. He wants to talk to you and me as much as he wanted to talk to all the people in the Bible. All of them, because he doesn't show partiality. So let's look at some of the verses. And we're going to nail this stuff home for you today. So let's bring up Romans chapter 2, verse 11, the Apostle Paul writing a letter to the Romans, as you might imagine. And read the whole chapter, or at least this. I'm not, due to time constraints, I'm not going to get into the whole thing. But Romans chapter 2, verse 11, Paul he's telling the Romans, look, God shows no partiality. Okay? Now, there's a ton of verses in the Bible that says this. I'm going to give you 5. How does that sound today? Is 5 enough? Will that be enough for you? I mean, I could go exhaustive on it, but I think we're going to nail this home today. Relative to, does he really want to talk to us? I know he talked to Moses, and I know he talked to Solomon, and I know he talked to everybody when he was here, talked to all kinds of people, right? Talked to Paul, knocked him off his horse, as they say, knocked him over for sure. Said, hey, what are you doing? He wants to talk to all of us. Yeah, we're broken. Yeah, we're screwed up. Yeah, we need fixing. That's why he wants to talk to us. We think the other way. Oh, no, I'm just so screwed up. And no, it's the opposite. That is especially why he wants to talk to us. Not that he doesn't, if we're all buttoned up. But okay, so Acts chapter 10, verse 34. Okay. This is the Dr. Luke writing this stuff. Truly, I understand that God shows no partiality, but in every nation, everyone who fears him, God, Jesus, and does what is right is acceptable to him. Okay? Again, no partiality. I understand God shows no partiality. Now, I think there's a deeper well to drink from on that one, but let's just put it on the pile of no partiality verses. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 9. Paul writing a letter to the church in Ephesus. 6, verse 9. Knowing that he who is both their master and yours in heaven, and that there is no partiality with him. Okay. Again, read more in the previous and post verses on that to get exactly what he's talking about. But it's in context. Read it. I want you to go there and read the whole thing. Again, time constraints, can't get into the whole thing. No partiality, right? Colossians chapter 3, verse 25, Paul talking again, for whoever does wrong will receive the consequences for the wrong done. And there is no partiality. He doesn't punish one and not punish the other. And what's punish? Just correcting, helping you get back onto the path of being like God. Anything that we do that's going off the rails, he's going to do what he has to bring it. But no partiality. He's going to correct all of us the same. No partiality. What does that mean? He wants to talk to all of us. He wants to be communicating with all of us. He wants to be helping all of us, right? Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 17. For the Lord your God is God of gods and Lord of lords, the great, the mighty, and the terrible God, who is not partial and takes no bribe. Same thing. No partiality. He does not show partiality. One more for the pile. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 17. And if you invoke as Father him who judges each one impartially according to his deeds, conduct yourselves with fear throughout the time of your exile. No partiality, once again. I could go on and on. Jesus gets into it specifically as well, but that's another subject matter, the essence of that. No partiality. He wants to talk to all of us. Okay? We were designed to dialogue and have conversations with the creator of the universe. That's our design. The angels were designed that way, and so are we. There's no other creature that talks to God like that. Not that I'm aware of. We are very unique. We're not just a cow, We are literally his kids, and he wants to talk to us. He gives us the example of the family here on earth. He's the father, we're the children. What good dad wouldn't talk to his kids, right? Jesus addresses it. What good dad would give a scorpion to a son who asks for an egg, or what's the other one? Something to do with a fish, or don't have the address on that, but yeah, it's the same thing, right? What good father wouldn't talk to his kids? It's not even logical. It's not reasonable at all. Now, we have this issue that he's in heaven, but he's omnipresent. Figure that one out. That's a curveball to swing at. Regardless, it doesn't matter to me. I don't even have to understand it. I don't understand how a cell phone works, but I'll tell you, I use it all the time, happily, right? So that's the pile of non-partiality verses that we need to get this idea. Hey, he wants to talk to me as much as he wanted to talk to anybody that he's talked to before. There's a whole internet full of videos of people giving testimonies of talking to God. Not all of them are necessarily true, of course, but it only takes one of them that it makes it true. Of course, we've got a Bible full of folks. Let me leave that with you for series 2, episode 2. Let's call it there. I got more for you. Going to shut it down there. We'll come back, and I'm going to give you some biblical examples of God talking with people, and this is going to help build our faith. Faith comes by hearing the word of God, and we're going to do that. Thanks so much for being a part of this episode. Go back and see the previous ones if you haven't seen them, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bless you.